Welcome to Leadership Spotlight, a podcast that shines the spotlight on L&D and HR leaders from leading businesses around the world. Learn the ins and outs of everyday leadership, what it means to be a leader, and all the learning and skilling that goes into making a successful leader that you would like to follow. So lean in and lead on. Born into an entrepreneurial family is an easy gateway to success. You have the framework laid out for you, and your support system is your kin. But what happens when you choose to deviate from the plan and carve out your own path? A path that not only defines your career, but puts you on a pedestal and demonstrates that leadership does not have a gender if you're willing to put in the work and the passion. That's Anita Chabria for you. Deputy General Manager, International HR at Gulf Oil International, Anita has over a decade of comprehensive human resources experience across diverse industries. She handles a global portfolio in organizational development, leads the learning and development practice, and runs the communication and employee engagement initiatives for Gulf Oil India. This young HR Achiever awardee is as family oriented as she is academically and professionally sound. A doting mother to a 5-year-old girl, she continues to lead by example, seeding values of leadership and gender equality in her daughter's young mind. Anita is a woman HR leader who is a true human at heart. Hi Anita, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Pranjali. Happy to be here.
I want to start with an area I'm deeply passionate about. But before that, to contextualize and lay down the framework for this conversation, I want you to take us back to your childhood and your journey to senior HR manager at Gulf Oil International.
Okay, sure. Coming from an entrepreneurial background, I have seen business operations very closely. But having said that, I decided to digress and become an HR professional. It's been a fantastic journey so far. My career trajectory has gone from being curious, I think, to becoming an explorer, being an enabler, and in order to that, transitioning into a leader. I've seen the length and breadth of HR, and now I'm trying to delve deeper into the learning and development space. So it's been a continuous professional journey for me, but the learning never stops.
Interesting that you say, Anita, that you come from an entrepreneurial background. And in my opinion, having such a head start helps you to really kind of create a path for yourself where you want to go in the future. So do you really think that if you did not have that kind of a background, it could have gone any other way? Or do you think it's an innate talent or an ability you had that no matter what kind of support system I have or not, you would have still perceived that?
Well, I think your background makes a big influence on you. So your entire sphere of influence while you're growing up is your parents, is the kind of family that you grow up with. So it does definitely have a sustained amount of influence on your thinking capability. But I still believe, as I was growing up, my parents have always enabled us to have our own thinking process. And that's where probably I digressed from the usual family business and went on to becoming an HR professional. While electronics was the background which was there at home, I never went into the engineering sphere, and that was sheer by choice.
Understood. So now, standing today in your own truth, holding a coveted position in an area that you said you digress from, do you think leadership has a gender? And the reason I ask this is because we still have a very low amount of women leaders across industries and across countries too, unfortunately.
Sure. So, well, leadership to me is not a rank or a position. It's actually an attribute to a position. When I say that, what I mean is it's probably a means to an end. Thus, whether it's age, it's gender, or any other demographic, it absolutely has no linkage to leadership. It's completely gender agnostic. So, while I agree with you that it's a tedious process and it's rather slow in its wake of paving it through to executive positions, somewhere we have started moving towards the right direction. We have some exemplary leaders who are there, who are taking and bearing the forefront and giving us things that we get inspired with. But I wouldn't say that it's specific to any kind of gender or age or ethnicity, race, background. So women still do hold a very good chance. It's going to take its own sweet time, I think, but nonetheless we are still getting there. So I think there is definitely a very bright light at the end of the tunnel.
And with leaders like you, I'm sure the light is only brighter. But Anita, I think for a society like us, an Indian culture that we have been born and brought up into, and it's not just the Indian culture, there are so many developing countries too that still hold their women back. It could be a thing about the patriarchal society, or it could just be the whole responsibility of bearing a child, or raising a child, and the family responsibility that comes with it that still holds a woman back from truly achieving her potential. Do you think that there is a change in this too?
Well, I believe the change has already come and it's here to stay. If you ask me, business was quick to realize that having women in their workforce in different capacities is going to help them build their brand and also gain substantial competitive business advantage. So they were quick in terms of lapping it up and making it part of their serious agenda, even at the topmost level. While we, being the HR baton holders, we as custodian of policies, when we say we have equal opportunity policies, we have equal pay policies, we also need to act as enablers or gatekeepers to ensure that these policies are being adhered to and not just listed down on the paper. But while you say we have so many different programs coming up which are encouraging women to come up, whether it's giving them a second phase post their maternity, giving them a chance to take up responsibilities which have not been earlier given across to them, or it is about building an image for yourself or grooming them to take up executive positions through high potential programs. So there are these pockets where the work has begun, and soon to do we see, there are a lot of forward looking organizations wherein we are also looking at learning and development, which is also an offshoot of the HR, being used as a robust tool to create that awareness, to effect the change in people's mind, so as to ensure that a code of conduct document or an employee handbook doesn't just have a page which says that we are an equal opportunity provider. We actually go through with it. The high potential, I think, in case of women is being realized more and more as we progress. It's also the nurturing attitude that probably comes naturally to us, that also allows us to shine and come up with a different mindset from what a very patriarchal or a typical hierarchical traditional structure in a business setup can be added value to. So business leaders are definitely here to stay, and I think there's no looking back for them, and for all of us, of course.
You said a valid point, Anita, that one, it needs to be a mindset shift. And I think it's not just about filling in a quota. When you talk of diversity and inclusion, it's not just about filling in a quota for how much or how many women you need, but it's actually understanding that having a diversity and inclusion in your talent is going to help the brand and the business in the long run.
Absolutely.
And you've also answered to a large extent what is it that HR and L&D as an offshoot can do in helping a woman realize her true
Hmm.
potential. You mentioned about programs in terms of the training programs. Returnship is one of them. Mentorship is another. How do you think women are lapping it up? Do you think there is an openness from the women too, or is something really stopping them from taking that step into the correct direction they need to go to?
Thankfully, so I think women are making the most of it. So we are also at the receiving end in to a certain extent, which I do agree holds us back sometimes in terms of taking up opportunities. We cannot just get up and go, right? We have other things holding us down. Even if it's sheer love for your family and for your kids, that also holds back at times. But it could also be looked as a lever that you can, give you a jump and an impetus to actually perform even better. So people, I think, are now more and more open. In regards to the Indian setup, we have a substantial support system since a lot of us are still with our families, with our extended families. So that helps tremendously for women also to get that kind of jump and support. If they are at peace, they are going to definitely perform to the best of their abilities. So in an Indian setup, I think it's a little easier for us rather than having the nuclear setup which we see very apparent in most of the western countries. Having said that, I think women are a complete go-getter attitude by now, and we have had that shift in mindset shown to us right at the nurturing stage, right at the stage within our childhood, when parents are now trying to develop that go-getting attitude, whether you are girl child or a boy child. And that has going to help us tremendously while we are growing up the career path as well. So we see our kids trying to emulate us, we see our kids looking at us for an example. And that is where we have to plant the seeds at a very tender age to ensure that they also subscribe to this kind of a behavior, they subscribe to this kind of an awareness and an understanding in order to become better performers in business. So women, I think, are ready to go and achieve it. So many more examples we have who have already gone there and done so much on a global platform, and people that we can look up to in every which manner. So women, I think, are ready, and they are taking up all the opportunities possible in a business scenario or otherwise.
Agreed, agreed. And I want to come back to the point of raising your children. But before that, I want to quote this from Indra Nui. That is, I absolutely believe in it. And I think it's so true for us. She says the biological clock and the career clock for women are in total conflict. And I think there is so much truth in it because, one, when we are of a childbearing age, we are probably at the time when we are also making that shift into our career. And also, when we reach the position, maybe the leadership position, it's the caregiving to our aging parents, perhaps, or the family support that needs us. So we are always in this dilemma: where should I do? What should I do? How much do I prioritize? And what should I prioritize?
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I mean, but having said that, I think the larger belief is that we have also been given the magical power and the magic dust to multitask. And I think, in spite of having all of these challenges, if we are still able to get it, it's the same for one and all. I completely agree with what Indira Nooyi quotes, and it's true for every single one of us. But we are going to be able to
Yeah.
do it. I mean, we have these innate abilities. We just need to manage ourselves better. If time management happens, and if we have a little support at home, I think there is no stone that will be left unturned.
Agreed, agreed. From one woman to another, I think that is a superpower that all of us have and that we harness every single day. So I want to now come back to the point that I said I would, and it's about learning and development in particular. Now, I'm curious to know how much of this right learning, perhaps in the form of disciplining, maybe setting up the right dialogue or example setting, do you follow for your own young daughter? Because young minds are malleable, they are impressionable, and you said that you need to plant the seed when it is young.
Well, I, for one, do definitely believe so. Everyone has a different parenting style. But at the tender age of 5, my daughter is still, I think, not subscribing to the exact idea of how a man or a woman develops, or how they can grow in their life. I think for her, an individual is still about leading through an example, yes, but also seeing that a person, irrespective of the gender, requires commitment, requires deliberate practice at getting better at something, and discipline. So if these qualities of a leader per se, if they can be instilled in her, I would still consider that as my success. So while I believe as she grows up she'll derive her own definitions, and through experiential learning she'll be able to see how she wants to look at life. But I do believe that kids at an impressionable age, at an age where you could still have a fresh mindset, you can still at least lead them to believe what are the right things in life. Now, whether they want to follow it or not is completely left up to them. So it's not about having the harsh reality given across to them, but their minds require to be channelized and paved so that the right positive energies come through.
You said it, Anita. I have a 6-year-old myself. He's a boy. So, of course, there are going to be some gender
Mhm.
differences, but I think the theme runs across every child that what they see is perhaps what they do. There are so many verbal and non-verbal cues that they latch onto. And every time that I do something, I see him understanding it much better than what would have happened if I were to sit him down and teach it to him.
Correct. And I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, kids have an innate ability and a very strong observation power that, we as adults tend to miss it. You rightfully said that there are so many cues that we may not latch on to, but you look at them, they grasp and they retain, and they can bring it back. You will see them reciprocating, and replicating you in so many manners. It's insane, but they have this innate ability, and I think we need to channelize it correctly at the right stage so that they become responsible citizens.
Agreed, agreed. Now, Anita, you have won the Young HR Achiever Award from HRD Congress in 2019. It's a massive, massive achievement in itself. But I would like to know, what is it that you truly consider as your reward as one, the HR leader, and two, as Anita, the mother, the wife, the daughter, and a handful of other roles that you play?
Well, thank you so much. And yes, it was, I was extremely humbled by having, received that recognition at such a huge forum. But having said that, I don't think I can isolate myself as a professional or, playing any other role to the best of my ability. So all of that put together is what makes up Anita. And, Anita, whereas being recognized on a professional platform, on a occasion which is momentous for me, I think it would have meant nothing if I did not have my family with me. The celebration that happened together, that celebration that makes you feel worth and makes you feel valued, is what means to me. So that is my celebration. It was a momentous occasion that, it is, printed in my memory forever, and I would cherish it. But it would have probably meant nothing, or would have given me only a momentary pleasure had my family and all those multiple roles not been there with me to celebrate the momentous occasion.
Anita, you just hit the point on its head by saying that you need to be your authentic self wherever you are. You don't really have to play or be a different person just because you're in your professional avatar versus what happens in your personal. Yeah. So before I let you go, Anita, I have to ask you, what is your leadership mantra?
Leadership mantra for me would be being future ready. So, it's all about getting ahead of the curve, having the first mover advantage, alternating between divergent and convergent activities. When I say divergent, I mean dealing with innovative ideas, having a futuristic outlook. When I say convergent, I'm touching on the processes which are, standardized, uniform, having, making collective decisions. So if I'm able to alternate between these two activities, I believe my leadership style is going to be successful, because I'm going to make people collaborate together. I'm going to have a market centric approach. I'm going to take care of my customers. So the entire balance scorecard, if I'm able to actually derive that balance at the end of the day, I think I would be future ready, because I start working on it today. So only when your past has an impact on the present and you build your present is when your future is secure. And that's why being future ready is my mantra for leadership as well as for life.
Amen to that, Anita. Thank you so much for being here with us. It was a pleasure, and you ensured there was lots of insights and lots of tips that all our readers and listeners can take away.
Thank you so much, Pranjali. Happy to be a part of this, and thank you so much to all the listeners.
Thank you for tuning in to Leadership Spotlight. To learn how you can go from learning to leading, visit www.plathoralearning.com. See you next time.